Okay, so the down low on the CR from Representative Thomas Massie. So what's going on with this? Looks like the fight between him and Trump and the GOP seems to be intensifying a lot, and I do mean a lot, because it's going to be unapologetic and it's abundantly clear that there's going to be a fight, and most likely Trump wants people to fall in line. So let's go ahead and first pull up this video here of Representative Thomas Massie from the great state of Kentucky talking about this. Now, I find what he's saying to be very relevant because, number one, everything that Doge has cut, or called out uh, seems to be being voted for in Congress. So, like, just to quote that guy from Casino, when, Joe Pesci's character still loses and demands his money, the guy says, "I'm confused here." And then they grab him by the neck and say, "If you don't give me my money, I'm going to put you through that hole right there. I'm confused here."
Hi, Congressman Massey here. I thought you'd like to know about the fake fight that's going on in the House of Representatives right now over this CR. They're trying to pitch it as a conservative CR versus liberal Democrats, and even the Democrats are going along in the House. But let me tell you why that's a fake fight. They plan to pass it with all Republicans here in the House, but after we leave town, the Democrats are going to vote for it in the Senate. That's right. They're going to need about 8 Democrat senators to vote for this thing over in the Senate. That means that this deal has already been cut, that Mike Johnson has cut a deal with the Senate Democrats, Senate leadership, and even Hakeem Jeffries. He's in on this so that they can pitch their fake fight here in the House. Now, why am I so certain this is going to pass in the Senate when it gets over there with 8 Democrats or however many Democrats they need? Well, Mike Johnson is sending us home a day early. We're going to vote on this thing and skip town. If you thought there was really a threat of them not passing it in the Senate, why would you leave town? The other thing that's going on is the Democrats have a retreat, an off-site retreat, where they're going to get together and party and have, guest speakers and stuff. And that
Somewhere out there, Jamal Bowman's like, "Oh man, I wish I could have all that good food." All right, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. But I mean, I'm willing to bet that the catering is like 10 out of 10, like really delicious and nutritious.
that starts tomorrow and runs through Thursday and Friday. Now, you think they're not going to let this thing pass? What would happen if, let's say, the Freedom Caucus decided to take the conservative stance on this CR and oppose it? Well, they would be about 30 or 40 votes short here in the House, the Republicans would. But Hakeem Jeffries wouldn't be able to pretend, along with Mike Johnson, in this fake fight, that this is a conservative versus liberal battle in the House. And he would just hand over at least 40 Democrats. And once you get to 40 Democrats, it'd probably be a whole lot more Democrats. So that's what's going on. It's all a fake fight. You're going to find this out when it goes over to the Senate and you have Democrats in the Senate voting for it. Now, here's the other thing a lot of people aren't telling you about this bill. In the FRA, stands for Fiscal Responsibility Act. I'm not saying it was that responsible, but in the FRA that passed a couple years ago under Kevin McCarthy, the deal that was cut between myself and others on the Rules Committee was that if you will guarantee a 1% cut in spending on any CR that goes past April 30th and put that into law, use the sequester language and put that into law, then we would raise the debt limit or suspend the debt limit for a period of time. I voted for this because a 1% cut seemed like a wonderful thing if they would go and do a CR for a full year.
But that's not going to happen. See, here's the thing. I played a video on yesterday's show in which Representative Thomas Massie said 6 months ago, "We're going to be back here again." You see, if you think Congress has your best interest at heart, even when they find waste, even when the great big Doge reveal was happening, they all knew. Like, don't be stupid here and pretend, elected officials in Congress, that you didn't know about all this waste. Like, oh my God, it was everywhere. USAID, USAIDs, and everything else, all this money, all these studies. Like, no, they all knew. Or they knew in some form, way, or another. There's no such thing as innocence in the elected halls of Congress, in the Senate and House, only varying degrees of guilt. No one's there is truly innocent. They all knew. Everybody knew. And we all knew that they knew. Congress are big brain geniuses.
Which seemed like almost a certainty at some point in the next 2 years. Well, here we are under Mike Johnson, and we've got the 1 year CR that they're going to do. It's actually a 6-month CR because
bad cookies, the baddest of the baddest of the bad cookies, fresh out the oven. Says this. Say what you will about Representative Thomas Massie. I truly do appreciate him outing the game like this. It's not the first time. He told everybody that AIPAC, everybody in Congress, has an AIPAC babysitter. Praise be to St. Abachan.
Is where he's 6 months into this, and it's going to go past April 30th. It should trigger the sequester. But guess what? Mike Johnson's folks and lawyers have said, we're just going to ignore that. We're going to treat this continuing resolution as 12 appropriations bills or an omnibus for the purposes of this sequester, because it goes all the way to September 30th. In other words, they're saying this really isn't a CR for the purposes of that deal we cut 2 years ago. We're going to call this basically an omnibus in CR clothing, so we don't have to follow the law, the agreement that we did before. Now, that's pretty disingenuous if you ask me. It's even more disingenuous to try to say that, 2 years ago, Massie was fiscally irresponsible because he voted to raise the debt limit. No, we got a deal there, and then Mike Johnson has broken the deal because he's not being conservative. I mean, this was obvious, as obvious as that Capitol dome back there behind me and the blue sky. So what would I do? What's a CR I could vote for? Because people have said, Massie's voted for CRs before in the past. Well, actually, I've never voted for a CR that became law because they were too conservative. I voted for a CR under McCarthy that cut everything in discretionary spending 8%. That's an 8% cut. I mean, I'm a fan of the penny plan, but 8% is huge. I think that CR also had some border security package on it as well. But I'm not a big fan of sticking things together. The reason I voted for that CR is it had an 8% cut. It never went into law. But if you wanted me to vote for a CR, that's the kind of CR I could vote for if you're going to cut everything 8%, if you're going to be serious about it. But they're not going to be serious about it. Really, what we should be doing is what I've said all along. I've been here 12 years. We should be doing 12 separate bills. That's kind of plain as day, if you ask.
Now, I'm noticing some people saying back and forth in the chat right now. People are saying, well, I'm glad Representative Thomas Massie spilling the beans, spilling the tea about all this. Others are saying, hey, look, he's still a politician like anybody else. At this point, being in this game now for 8 years, covering politics, especially being in Chicago, we got to make do with what we got. But at the end of the day, don't look to hope to anyone in DC to save us. All right. Even for people who we might agree with, or either that might have a disagreement with, but they're speaking some truths here. The real movement for change is, again, citizen ballot initiatives, building movements and organizations not connected to DC, and supporting third parties. That's how we get real change here. I think the main purpose of this is informing and enlightening and trying to get people to be well aware of how Congress has been screwing us over. And if Representative Thomas Massie is the only one that's really going to spill out the game here, then so be it. Now, that doesn't mean, take every word he's saying for gospel, but this is how it's done, and it's leading more evidence about how electoral politics is truly being a waste of our time. And it says a lot about overall how we're being represented, because remember, a lot of these elected officials, they're going on vacation. If you think their number one priority is you, no. The number one priority for all these politicians is be on the phone calling their donors for more money, asking their AIPAC babysitters for that money.
Ask me, and that way there's no threat of a shutdown. The reality is that the Democrats and Republicans love to have the threat of a shutdown. They can get conservatives to vote for liberal things if there's a shutdown looming, especially when you have a president who says, we don't want to shut down under my watch. By the way, this is not Trump's agenda. This is Biden's spending agenda. The CR extends Biden spending levels until the end of the year. The Biden spending levels that he enjoyed for the last 15 months of his presidency will now be locked in until September 30th. Remember, in September, you can go back and find a video, September 2024, of me in the Rules Committee saying that what's going to happen if we do a CR in September is it's going to go to December, and then because what they said then was, oh, we got to go after the election. We don't want to lose the majority. So we'll have this fight after November, after the election. Well, we got to after the election, and we were in December. It was time to do the spending bills again. They said, no, we don't want to fight right now. We actually won the Senate and we won the White House. So we'll have the high ground. And they thought about doing the CR until January. And they said, no, let's give Trump and the new Congress time to get their legs underneath of them. And let's go all the way to March 14th. That'll be this Friday.
Now, the thing is, I want to pause here because I want to give a huge shout out to Case Study QB. Be sure to follow him on Twitter. But Fetterman discussed why he will vote for the GOP spending bill. Okay, so in other words, Representative Thomas Massie is being proven correct here, because this is just something that was just brought to my attention. Hey, kid, check this out. It's from everybody's favorite, well-dressed, well-groomed United States Senator. I mean, at least in Idiocracy, they tried to dress nice. At least President Camacho did. This guy, what will the world look like when I'm 80? I'm very afraid.
No, absolutely. I don't support or I agree with the way they've approached that. But if the House Republicans pass it and then they send it over to the Senate, now I've been on the record saying, I'm going to have to vote for that. Yes, because then that's going to then that would make that would shut our government down. And then that puts it on Democrats to withhold our votes and our support. We don't agree with what's been sent to us, but if we withhold our votes, that is going to shut the government down. And I think that's one of our core responsibilities in the Senate or in the government here, to not ever allow the government to shut down. And I would see that it become, for Democrats, we're going to burn the village down just to save it. And now, if we are concerned the way our economy could be teetering into a recession, and if the government shutdown nudges that towards that, I think that's something that the government, then the Republicans, that the Democrats will own shutting the government down. And I think that would be the wrong kind of message, because that would have a substantial impact on millions and millions of innocent Americans by stuck in the middle of this battle.
Through that word salad, basically, he just proved that Representative Massey's correct, that the Senate's going to vote for it. So see, there you go.
They said that'll give us time to implement the Trump agenda. But here we are on March 14th. Remember, the first excuse was wait till after the election. The second excuse was wait until everybody's sworn in. And now the excuse now for doing a CR is, oh, we don't have time. We don't have time to do the right thing. We don't want the fight now. We'll do a fight in September of 2025. Well, guess what, folks? The closer you get to the next election, the less spine these people have. And if you think they have a little spine now, the spine will be non-existent. I don't see the fight coming. I hope there is a fight to cut spending. I just don't see it. And we're our own worst enemy here in the Republican Party. So what should you do? Do an across the board cut. You should honor the 1% cut that's in law that Mike Johnson is going around. He's violating at least the spirit of the law and maybe even the letter of the law by ignoring the 1% cut. And we should also lock in the Doge cuts. Why are we going to fund all of the waste, fraud, and abuse that Doge found? Why are we going to cut, copy, paste that budget? I thought we were going to get rid of that stuff. Well, it seems like we're not. So the vote's going to happen here pretty soon. I thought I would record this video for posterity from my new office here. Finally got a view of the Capitol, and I'll be going over to vote no. Remember, today Trump is attacking Canada and me. And the difference between the two is Canada will eventually cave.
All right. First of all, to my Canadian audience, you're not going to be part of the family. Don't worry. I don't want the fallout timeline to happen. So let's just address that there. But let's also look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is, unfortunately, our entire electoral system is one big sloppy, disgusting mess. This isn't open for a debate or conversation. This is an actual fact. Our entire electoral system is a big sloppy mess, and that they will continue things as they are, despite the fact that Doge found all this waste, yet it's still going to be funded. Because guess what? There's money to be made, baby. Except you, the American people, won't have a piece of that pie. We get more debt, and the future's uncertain. I am afraid, but at least we know how the game is played. And that means our tactics must change as voters, as informed citizens. And your social responsibility across the board here, here's what you have to do. Know your rights as a voter in your state. Fight to make your state a citizen ballot initiative state. Start some more supporting, again, community outreach, community organizations, mutual aid. Support building movements and organizations not connected to Washington, D.C. Keep your heads on a swivel and support third parties and independents. The Democratic Party and Republican Party in the House and Senate won't save you. We have to accept this. These are the terms. These are the facts. And I'm so sorry.